For decades, scientists have been on this incredible hunt for the answer to a really huge question. When and where did humans first team up with the horse? It's a detective story that's thousands of years old, and we're about to piece all the clues together. I mean, just stop and think about that for a second. How did one single animal completely change, well, everything? This isn't just a story about a cool animal. It's a story about us and how our world suddenly exploded beyond the horizon. So picture this. Before the horse, your entire world was basically defined by how far you could walk. But after, suddenly those huge open grasslands, they weren't barriers anymore. They were highways, connecting people and ideas in ways that were totally unimaginable before.
Okay, so let's dig in and really understand the stakes here. And trust me, we're not just talking about a faster way to get from point A to point B. This was a complete game changer for what it meant to be human. I mean, look at this. The horse was like this engine of change. It completely blew up long-distance travel, it created brand new trade networks, and oh yeah, it totally changed the face of war forever. It even helped ideas and languages spread like wildfire across entire continents.
Okay, so before we get any deeper into this mystery, we've got to get a couple of terms straight. First up, taming. This is the simple part, right? You catch a single wild animal, you control it. It's a one-on-one thing. But that's not the whole story. Domestication, now that's something else entirely. This is so much deeper. This is when humans start to actively control the breeding of an entire population, shaping them over generations. It's a real partnership, and it changes both sides of the equation, the animal and the people. And that's the origin story we're hunting for.
All right, so like any good detective story, this one had a prime suspect for a really, really long time. A place that just seemed to have all the right evidence. Let's open up the first file in this case.
For years, pretty much everyone in the scientific world pointed to this one site, a culture known as the Botai, in what is now Kazakhstan. I mean, the evidence they found there, it looked like a slam dunk.
So, what did they find? Well, for starters, just tons and tons of horse bones. They found signs that people were probably keeping them in corrals, herding them. There was even evidence that they might have been milking them. I mean, for a long time, it really looked like the case was closed. But then, a brand new kind of evidence came along and just blew everything apart. And here we go. This is the part of the story where we get a massive plot twist. The arrival of ancient DNA analysis wasn't just a new clue. It was a bombshell that basically forced everyone to reopen the case.
The big moment happened in 2021. A huge landmark study came out that let scientists for the first time really read the genetic story that was hidden deep inside these ancient horse bones. And what they found? Well, nobody saw it coming.
And the results were absolutely stunning. The DNA proved that the horses from Botai, they were a completely separate branch of the family tree, a genetic dead end. They weren't the ancestors of our modern horses at all. The real origin story, it turned out, was hundreds and hundreds of miles to the west.
So, with the old theory completely out the window, the whole investigation shifted its focus. The new scene of the crime? These vast grassy plains we call the Pontic-Caspian steppe. This was the real cradle of the modern horse.
And if you think about it, this place was the perfect setting. It's this massive belt of open grassland, stretching for thousands of miles. It's basically a horse's paradise. And it was also home to these incredibly skilled herding cultures who already knew a thing or two about managing animals over huge distances. So this is so important to understand. This case wasn't cracked by one single clue. No aha moment from one person. It was the powerful combination of different sciences. Old school archaeology digging up bones, meeting this cutting-edge genetics and biomolecular science. That's what finally pointed the detectives in the right direction. And one of the coolest new clues came from, of all places, the plaque on ancient human teeth. Seriously, scientists could actually find proteins from horse milk that were preserved in this dental tartar. Now think about it. You don't just walk up to a wild horse and start milking it. This was a clear sign of domestication, of control. And guess where they found it? Right there in the Pontic-Caspian steppe. So, okay, we've found the right place. Now the question becomes, who were the people who actually did this? Who were these pioneers, and how did this whole world-changing partnership even get started? Well, the people at the center of this story were these incredibly mobile herders.
You might have heard of the Amnaya culture. They're probably the most famous example. These groups were in the right place at the right time, and they were perfectly set up to be the first real horse masters, using them to manage their own herds and just navigate that enormous steppe.
Now, this brings up a really key point. The very first steps, like that evidence for milking, happened way back in the 3rd millennium BC. But the huge social revolution, the explosion of horse-powered mobility that just transformed Eurasia, that didn't really kick off until a little later, around 2200 BCE. It's a great reminder that just because something is invented doesn't mean its impact is felt overnight.
Yeah, it really seems to have happened in stages. In the beginning, horses were probably treated just like any other livestock. Good for meat, good for milk. But over time, people realized their true potential. They became the key to traveling vast distances, to managing huge herds of other animals, and eventually, a terrifying new force on the battlefield.
So, when you put it all together, this whole incredible detective story shows us something really profound. The history of the horse isn't just a story about the past. It's a perfect lesson in how science itself actually works.
We saw exactly how they pieced it together, right? Step 1, archaeology gives you the bones, the physical clues. Step 2, biomolecular science comes in and finds these invisible traces, like milk proteins. And then step 3, genetics reads the story that's literally written in the DNA. It's this amazing collaborative investigation across time. And that's really the big idea here. History isn't just this dusty old book of facts that never changes. No way. It's a living, breathing investigation that's constantly being updated with new evidence and new technology. Which, leaves us with a pretty cool question to think about. This huge mystery was basically solved with tools that didn't even exist a few decades ago. So it really makes you wonder, what other piece of history that we all think is settled? What story is just waiting for that next new clue to come along and rewrite everything we thought we knew?